Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Yuanyu Perspectives, where we explain the real world through the lens of economics. Today, we're going to talk about there's no such thing as overproduction in economics. American politicians have recently been claiming that China is overproducing electric vehicles, solar panels, steel, cement, making too much, selling too cheap, and harming the world. Their solution is simple: slap on tariffs, impose restrictions. But what's the economic foundation for this rhetoric? I've searched high and low through textbooks and can't find any. Economics tells us that surplus is relative, not absolute. As long as prices can float freely in the market, how can anything be unsellable? When prices drop, demand naturally increases, and inventory naturally decreases. In other words, as long as prices are right, markets can always achieve market clearing. So-called overproduction usually just means someone doesn't want to accept that price. When American politicians point to Chinese overproduction, they're really just complaining that Chinese goods are too cheap. Since when is being cheap a crime? If China can produce quality goods at lower costs, that's comparative advantage, a manifestation of market competitiveness that global consumers should be thanking them for. I've asked this before in my previous articles. Aside from politicians and competitors, who else in this world will complain about you selling things too cheaply? Yet the U.S. chooses to impose tariffs, artificially driving up transaction costs, then turns around and says nobody wants Chinese goods. It's like blocking a water pipe and then complaining about poor water flow. What's even more interesting is that the U.S. talks up free markets domestically, but loves protectionism internationally. If that's not institutional double standards, what is? I've always believed that price signals are the core of resource allocation. When a country releases low price signals due to high efficiency, global resources are conserved. Conversely, when tariffs and barriers distort prices, resources get wasted. On the flip side, we see the U.S. accusing China of causing a trade deficit in goods, while conveniently ignoring America's $26.57 billion trade surplus with China in services. Setting aside the fact that deficits in international accounts aren't about who's taking advantage of whom, even by American politicians' own logic about deficits, when China wants to spend big money buying American technology, chips, cutting-edge products, or even weapons, American politicians pull out the national security excuse and pass laws banning the sales. Here's an analogy. It's like you run a noodle shop on the corner, and the thug-turned-realtor next door complains that he eats at your place every day, but you never buy houses from him. Is there a deficit? Sure there is. But does that mean you're taking advantage of the realtor? Imagine the realtor claims he's been eating your noodles for years and forces you to buy a house from him. When you're pressured into visiting his shop to look at properties, he refuses to sell you any of the good houses you want, only the crappy ones you don't want. If that's not bullying and thuggery, what is? What's even more disgusting is when your own younger brother keeps supporting the thug, siding with outsiders against family. So this whole Chinese overproduction narrative is more political rhetoric than economic reality. The real issue is that some people don't want to face competition and don't want to lose on price to others. This mindset isn't a market problem. It's an institutional problem. Let's call it a day and see you next episode.